first time I've messed with the 3D tools in Photoshop, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, I poked at it last night just to, looked at a tutorial or two. So I mean, what would be super cool is if I could apply it like a layer over this and turn the opacity up and down, and then draw over that. Well, we'll find out. When I make my plates, the risk is that I don't really understand what's kind of the algorithm behind why these plates are shaped the way they are, and I do something random that's not realistic. So one of the things, I was watching an Artifactsian video, he does world building, and he was pointing out that every plate boundary where more than two plates are touching, it's always a Y shape. There's never like a cross. Like, what I would not expect is that you can have concave shapes like this and it still holds together. Like, I feel like this would crack quite naturally because these things are moving and shifting, bumping into each other, pulling apart. It seems like that process would shear anything away that was like a dangling, like a Florida off of the United States, or you know what I mean. So I'm gonna have to do something somewhat counterintuitive. Okay, so according to this, there's an X there. I'm gonna go check that out. This is obviously a very rudimentary map. Yeah, so it's just the resolution. They're making their line with these big circles, and so it kind of makes it look like there's an X there, but there's not. Okay, so these arrows are indicating the direction of the plate. Yes, they are. I don't know why there's no arrows here showing that the plate is pushing this way. I'm trying to decide, do I want to do the, like, I guess I don't know enough about how the continents accrete to be able to make any sensible thing. So I'll just start with the continents, and then I'll do what seems to make sense to me for the tectonic plates around it. I didn't even realize this is what I would be doing, but this is super important to be doing, given my goals, not in a big term, long-term good for humankind. I wonder if the thing that I'm building exists. I feel like somewhere on some geology website there is a multi-layered map of the world that lets you turn on and off all of these layers of like tectonics, weather patterns, etc. Okay, wow, look at all this data. This thing's a mess. Okay, but we can peel these back, and I think this is all the stuff that I need to start designing Telefar now. So, first and foremost, we have our tectonic plate boundaries. So when I draw mine now, I can base it very, very well on what Earth looks like. Next, well, obviously there's the continents, that goes without saying, and so I'm not going to say it. And then the oceanic conveyor belt, which takes the warm, salty water, whooshes it around. Now this whole belt, I believe, takes a couple thousand years, like for one piece of water to go all the way through it. It's thousands of years. But anyway, once it gets towards the poles, it gets cold. The salinity drops as the salt... Oh, maybe it's the other way around. No, that's not right. As it gets colder, it can hold less salt. Yes. So it drops a bunch of salt, and then it gets kind of moved. Cold and salty deep current. It's picking up salt as it goes. Maybe I need to refresh my memory on this. Either way, this kind of shows... The thing that's important about this is that without it, you're not getting the planet regulated. Without this conveyor belt happening, you would have like super huge, big, super cold poles and super hot, hot, hot middle. And that would make a lot of life, well, the zones for habitable life much smaller. So when I'm constructing my Earth-like planet that I want humans and other human-like creatures to be on, I need to keep in mind I need to have room between the continents and stuff for this kind of conveyor belt to happen. Latitudes, that goes without saying. This is just really a helpful guide for when I'm putting a city on my planet and it's, you know, close to where Rome is. I have an idea, okay, well, Rome is here and we know what the temperature is like in that kind of area, etc., etc. It can be a little tricky because, for instance, Rome is actually north of New York. And New York gets bitterly cold in the winter and Rome does not. And that has to do with all these other factors that I'm going through here, such as the winds. And so these are driven by the way the Earth spins, and the Hadley cell, the North and South Pole cells, and then the one that's between them that suddenly I can't remember the name of. I have it written down somewhere.
Disneyland?
The Disneyland cells.
I want to go there.
And then you get the dry spots on your planet, which are basically, you can see the winds are going this way. There's no big ocean here, so it's not pulling moisture, and you get a Sahara, right? These blue arrows here, the westerlies, push wet air off of the Pacific onto where I live on the west coast of the US, and then there's this mountain range here, and on the east side of that mountain range it turns into really deserty because the air has been dropped all its rain at those mountains. And then it's the opposite on the southern hemisphere. You've got all the water being pushed in from the ocean, it hits these mountains, drops all its water into the Amazon basin, and on the west side is desert. So these are all really important things if you're building an Earth-like planet to understand, well, even a not Earth-like planet, to understand the way these factors are interacting with each other. Let's see, oh, and also the gyres. These are really important for ocean-going, you know, just to understand like how trade networks are going to be formed. So one of the challenges that we have when it comes to Beaumark, he's in like a kind of a subtropic Hawaiian type island, and he's going northwest, which means we need to make sure that the gyre that he gets on is in a place that makes sense that he can be put up that way. And also, his island is so secluded no one else has discovered it, not even the sea folk, who are the trade network ocean going people. So it has to be, his island needs to be like in the middle of a doldrums, or you know, a variety of sorry, not gyres, but eddies, the kind of thing that keeps ships from having a very clear like trajectory to follow. So anyway, these are all the various factors that I can think of right now that will go into building Talifar. And so I think on the next stream, I'm going to start laying my version of Talifar over this. You know, I've designed this continent so far, so I'm going to slap it on there and say, okay, what is that like? How would it fit into the whole ecology? What do I have to change or move around to make it more scientifically plausible, basically. Yeah, so that's the deal. I'm going to go watch Game of Thrones at my friend's house, and everyone else have a good Mother's Day. If you have a good mother, tell her thanks. If you have a bad mother, I'm sorry, that sucks. And if your mother is no longer with you, shalom or something. And oh yeah, Letha's got a super cool mom. That's always fun.
Yeah.
She gets to play Guild Wars with her mom. That's really cool. Yeah, we love her mom as well. So,
We love us.
okay, that'll do it for now. I will see you guys next time. Bye.